It's time for Colbert on Golf with Jim Colbert and Kevin Keatsman. Each week, we'll break down what's happening in the world of golf with insights and big-name interviews, plus tips from the winner of 28 tournaments on the PGA and Champions Tours, Jim Colbert. Colbert on Golf is built by Midland Exteriors, online at midlandexteriors.com. Midland Exteriors, we've thought of everything.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Colbert on Golf, brought to you by Midland Exteriors. I'm Kevin Keatsman. Every week we get to talk about the great sport of golf with our good friend Jim Colbert, who participated this past weekend in the Bass Pro Legends of Golf in the Branson, Missouri area, Table Rock Lake. Spectacular setting. We'll talk about that on today's show, and a very unique format in the World Golf Championships as match play is up in San Francisco this week. But first, let's say hello to the pro and bring Jim Colbert on. Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm fine, Kevin. I'm trying to get over last weekend with all the golf and the weather, and then you taking us to see Neil Diamond and keeping us out all night. I'm still recovering, but what a great time.
Well, it sure was, and I know we'll talk about you finished third in the Legends division with your partner Jim Thorpe. We'll get to that maybe a little bit later in the show. We've got a really unique event with the World Golf Championships this week at Harding Park in San Francisco, a place that you know very, very well. There's 64 players in the field. It basically looks like an NCAA tournament bracket. There are 16 groups of 4, and if you win your group of 4 over the first couple days of the tournament, you advance, and then it becomes straight match play. But all the matches are match play, and I know for a long period of time they've been trying to figure out a way on the PGA Tour, the World Golf Stage, to have more match play events but in addition to medal play events. First things first, what do you think of the format? And you probably would have thrived in something like this, knowing you're playing against 3 different guys in a pod to try to win that first in advance. It sounds like a lot of fun. It
does sound like a lot of fun, and we'll have to see how it works. But I'm in favor of it on paper, and I, as a business from the PGA Tour point of view or the television, I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. Because you're going to get Rory McIlroy, the number 1 player in the world, 3 times. And then if he goes on from that, then you're going to get him again on the weekend down when he's in the final 8. So I just think it makes a lot of sense, and it definitely favors the best players. Because anybody can have a bad day or anybody could have a good day and get run over by a great day. But that isn't going to happen 3 times. No, I don't think so.
Which means, in addition to having Rory McIlroy or Jordan Spieth, players of their stature, the first 3 matches, which the TV networks want, you have a much better chance of having them be in the final 8 matches as well, because they now have an advantage over the other players in their pod, and ideally what you'd really like to see is the best players rise to the top, or at least, when we get to 16 players, at least have 9 or 10 of some of the biggest names in the world playing in match play at that point. These could be really, really good ratings for match play.
I think so. I know I'd rather play in that format knowing I got, 3 shots. I've got to win at least 2 of them, and maybe all 3, but I have to win 2 if I win 2. The other guy could win 3. So, yeah, you got to win at least 2, and if you win 3, you're there for sure. But it really, first of all, it makes the early rounds really, really count. And, nobody's going to lose once and go home. You got to play 2 more days. So you're going to get the A game every time out. And I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it'll be real competitive. There's an awful lot of golf to play, but it should be real competitive.
It is. Sometimes you only play 13 or 14 holes, too, so you can, that. But then there's other times you may have to play 23 holes to finish a match. You just never know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
But to me, the groups are really interesting. And looking at the seedings, this is a little bit like the NCAA tournament. It's got a lot of people talking because I'll just give you an example here. Rory McIlroy is the number 1 player in the world. He has Billy Horschel, Brandt Snedeker, and Jason Dufner in his group. Now, maybe it's just that we know those names more than other names. But Sergio Garcia is the 10 seed in this tournament, so he's like the 10th number 1 seed, Group 10. Sergio Garcia has Jamie Donaldson, Bernd Wiesberger, and Tommy Fleetwood. That sounds a lot easier than Rory has with Billy Horschel, Brandt Snedeker, and Jason Dufner. I know sometimes we get caught up in names, but as you look at all these matchups, I mean, Jordan Spieth has Lee Westwood, Matt Every, and Miko Ilinen in there. That sounds even tougher than what Sergio has. To me, that's half the fun here is looking at the seedings, the way this thing is drawn up, and say who's got a good pod and who has a bad pod.
Well, absolutely. And, it's all a numbers game. They list them 1 through, I think, 66. I think, Tiger and Phil aren't playing.
Right.
Phil and somebody. So I think they went to 66, and I would just assume that there's a number formula,
Yeah.
1 through 16, would start with 66, 65, 64, and then continue on down. So obviously the names, Rory sounds like, and looking at him, I mean, it's about the stuff that they have. But Billy Horschel has not played well this year, but he's a threat any time out, and so is Duffner.
And Snedeker.
He looks like he's got the toughest road. He really does.
I know. I mean, it's crazy. Now, there's another really good, the Group 4, Bubba Watson's got his hands full. He's got Louis Oosthuizen, who probably wants a little Masters revenge from a couple of years ago, and Keegan Bradley, who's pretty good in match play. He's
real good.
Yeah, he's a little frustrating to watch sometimes because he's kind of fidgety and whatever. And Miguel Angel Jimenez is in that group. He hasn't been playing all that well of late, but if you want to talk about a pit bull who's going to sink his teeth in you in match play and get after you, Miguel Angel Jimenez is probably one of those guys. Bubba's got his hands full too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they got a tough haul through there. So it still favors the best ranked player. With the exception of Billy Horschel, who has not played well this year and has struggled of late. So, I mean, he was playing good a couple weeks ago and then had a bad last round and everything, and he just hadn't got on track this year. Duffner, he can really play, but his putting's in and out. He's a guy that could go the distance if he putted good for a week.
Yeah,
And Keegan Bradley, I think he's about as tough as anybody in match play.
Yeah.
Because he's apt to make a double bogey or something and get off track, but he'll have to throw 7 birdies at you also.
Right. The same thing with a player like Ian Poulter. I think Danny noted, my partner in Kansas City on radio, Danny Clinkscale, noted yesterday, Ian Poulter, typically, he's playing very well this year, but every tournament he seems to have an 8 somewhere that really costs him. But you play match play, you can make an 8. Well, you won't make an 8. You'll just pick up. You can pick it up and move on and play 17 really good holes and win your match. Exactly.
And, match play, it gets personal. These, I watch these tennis, basically tennis, everything's match play, whether it's the guys or the gals.
Sure.
And I don't think those tennis players, after a period of time, sit around and hang out with each other week after week. It gets personal.
Yeah.
And when I was playing, my whole amateur career was match play. All the tournaments, state tournaments, national tournaments, they were all match play. And, I was a pretty good match player. I shot at every pin because I could chip and putt. And like you said, if I made the 8, so what? I'll make a bunch of birdies. And that was my biggest adjustment going on the PGA Tour. I was saying, who in the heck am I trying to beat? Oh, my goodness, everybody.
Right.
I couldn't look a guy in the eye and say, let him know I'm in for the duration. So I used to kind of make my opponent a bad guy in my mind, just as a motivational thing. On the PGA Tour, there's so very, very little of that. And if you don't like somebody, it's not because of the golf. You just don't get along. But match play can get really personal.
Good. Well, it's going to be fun to watch. New venue. This was played in Arizona for several years. Now it's at Harding Park in San Francisco, named after President Harding. It's a very historic course where I think pretty much every president since Harding has played there. And it's hosted some nice events, but it's been, redone and everything else. This is apparently, I don't know hardly anything about Harding Park, but you've played there many times. What type of golf course is it? What type of challenges does it present to these guys?
There's 5 courses around there, and they're all really, really good. Where they play the Open when Jurek hit that duck hook on 16. That was the last Open I played in, actually, and I think it was 87. So these 5 courses are all built around this lake. It's the heaviest air I've ever played in. I mean, in those days, I could hit a 7-iron, 155, with the old equipment, the old ball. Playing those courses, 155, they couldn't even think of a 7-iron. I had to hit a 6-iron. And it's treed and it's hilly, and they made it all modern. They've got a lot of fairway bunkers now and everything. It's a public course, and it's really terrific. I tried to get the operation of it about 10 years ago. We put it out for bid. I think I finished second. Kemper Golf got it. But it's a wonderful venue. And they got a new clubhouse and everything, and the PGA Tour has contract with them. Every 3 years they got to put some big tournament there. They were part of the bid deal with the PGA Tour. Originally had promised them the Tour Championship, and then that was actually in the contract when I was bidding it. And then the Tour got Coca-Cola, so they play in Atlanta every year in the Tour Championship with Coca-Cola. That's their home base. So they had to do something to appease the city of San Francisco because they had promised, the Tour Championship. So they've had very different tournaments there since they've redone the golf course. But, all the players like it. It's definitely a championship golf course.
Well, this is the one. They've got the World Golf Championship match play at Harding Park starting this week. We're talking with Jim Colbert here on Colbert on Golf. We come back, we'll hear about his big weekend in Branson at the Legends of Golf with his partner Jim Thorpe. They played with Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player on Sunday. Much more coming up next on Colbert on Golf.
Midland Exteriors is proud to be a presenting sponsor of Colbert on Golf. Just as Jim Colbert pursued excellence on the course, Midland Exteriors is committed to excellent products for your home and exceptional customer service for you. Midland Exteriors knows Kansas weather can be tough on your home, so we offer only fiberglass windows and seamless steel or fiber cement siding. It's the good stuff, and so is our service. Online at MidlandExteriors.com. Midland Exteriors, we've thought of everything.
Colbert Hills is one of the most unique golf experiences in the entire Midwest, and the hills are calling your name. Colbert Hills, you're going to experience huge elevation changes, tour-quality greens, and an award-winning design by Jim Colbert. Tee times, specials, and stay-and-play packages are available online at ColbertHills.com. Book a foursome or bring a huge group, and the staff at Colbert Hills will roll out its legendary hospitality. Who knows, you might even run into Jim at the tee box or after your round at Colbert's, which is so much more than just the 19th hole. Visit ColbertHills.com today.